All right, my friends. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the Happy Huddle with me, Stacey. As you know, we meet every Friday at 9 a.m. so that we can learn a new tool of happiness and actually practice it. So you know what that means. That means you need to have a sheet of paper, have a pen, and turn off your cell phone. And again, I'm so grateful that you give me this time because it's so valuable. But really, I'm glad you are giving yourself this time because it is so powerful. This is a way to just layer in positivity and practice the positivity skills every single week, so it builds and it builds and it builds and it builds, because it isn't something you can do just one time with one book, one chapter, one seminar. You got to practice it every day, and if you can't do it every day, hopefully you'll do it every week with me, and that's better than nothing. Today, my friends, we are going to talk about what gets in our way. All right, we've done a bunch of huddles already, and we really are, I mean, some of you might be thinking, wait a minute, what's going on? I tried the gratitude. I did a journal. I complimented people. I'm doing Game On in the morning, which is gratitude, affirmations, meditation, and exercise. And I am not all of a sudden like the happiest person in the world. Well, hold on again. It takes time, but there are some things that get in our way. And I want you to be aware of them, not so you can use them as an excuse, my friends, but so you can be aware and go beyond. Become aware, go beyond. You use these tools to navigate around them, okay? So let's get into it. The very first one is the negativity bias. Okay, this is what happened many thousands of years ago. We had to have a bias to negativity, to fear, so that we could keep an eye out for things that were dangerous. It kept our ancestors alive. Their sense of anxiety and worry is why we are here today. They had to always be aware that there was a tiger or a lion in the grass around the corner. And that is what kept us alive. Let me tell you a little bit more about that. So in evolution, there are two kinds of mistakes. Number one, you think there's a tiger in the bushes, but there isn't one. Or two, you think the coast is clear, but there really is a tiger in the bushes and he's going to kill you. These mistakes have very different consequences. The first one will make you really anxious, and that's why there's so much anxiety in our world right now. There are no tigers in the bushes, but we have a lot of paper tigers, things that we make up in our mind that we're afraid of, that we're always worried about, and we're always going to be afraid of. We're worrying about the future. We're worrying about the past. It's sort of like we have this old brain in a new world, and so we have to figure out how to work with that, which is what we're doing here. Now, the second mistake is going to kill you. So it's really important that if there is a tiger in the bushes, you are aware of it. But here is the most interesting thing. Mother Nature wants you to make the first mistake 1,000 times over in order to be aware of the negative, so you avoid making the second mistake even once. So we're always looking for the negative, because if we make that one mistake one time that we don't have our eyes open, it could kill us. In the past, it's not that dramatic anymore, but we still have that old brain wiring. So we have to just be aware of it. So when we start ruminating and wondering and being nervous, we have to say, okay, hold on. That is from my ancestors. I don't have to worry about tigers in the bushes right now. So I can move beyond it. It's not an excuse, it's an awareness. Now, the next one is, again, this is something to just point out a lot of the things where we're looking for the negativity. We remember insults more than we remember praise. Negative experiences tend to be more memorable than positive ones. This brain has a tendency to be vigilant and wary, again, looking for the negative. Positive experiences have to occur much more frequently than negative ones to stick and for us to remember them. I think it's like you have to have at least 3 more positive experiences to negate a negative experience. And again, it's just our old world wiring. And when your mind wanders, it's more likely to recall something that made you angry or upset instead of recalling something that made you happy and filled with pride. Again, now that you know this, you have to practice the things that will change it. For example, when you have a little booklet in your pocket or in your car or in your handbag that is a what's good journal. So you are writing down things when they happen that are good. Oh my gosh, someone, there was no line at the coffee shop. There were all green lights on the way to work. I found $20 in my pocket that I wasn't expecting. These are the things that you want to start noticing. And if you write them down, you're going to rewire your brain. So you're looking for the positive things more than looking for the negative things. You're going to overcome that evolutionary wiring that you have, and it is completely possible. I know it. I do it every day. I see so much more positive. And by the way, as some of you know, I used to be super depressed. I have a lot of depression in my family. I was not born like this. It is a practice. And now that I've been practicing it, I promise you, I see way more positive things than I do negative. And when I'm in that energy, as Abraham Hicks would say, the vortex, I attract even more positive things. So one of the things that gets in your way or our way is that we're always looking for the negative based on evolution, and it's time to change that, okay? Again, you're gonna learn these tools in these happy huddles. The second one is a set point theory. We've talked about this in an earlier huddle, but I'm going to remind some of you, in case you didn't see an earlier huddle, because you're just tuning in, if you go to happierbytheminute.com, you can register and subscribe to the Happy Huddle. It's completely free, and you can go back and see all the earlier ones. So set point theory is where we have this set level of happiness. And then when good stuff happens, we rise above it. When bad stuff happens, we go below it. They've done a lot of research on people that win the lottery and people that become paraplegics. Now, you're going to go really far down when you become a paraplegic, and it's going to be horrible for a while, but they find that they come back up to their baseline. They also find that when you win the lottery, those people, if their baseline was that they were miserable before they won the lottery, they're going to go really high up and then they're going to drop back down to their baseline. It is a fact. If you are not happy poor, then you will not be happy rich. Okay? So it doesn't matter what you're waiting for, what you think is going to happen. You just want to raise that baseline. So a lot of us, our baseline for happiness is really low, just based on experiences and old stories and a lot of other things that we've talked about. The key is to know that you have a set point and you can raise it with everyday practice, okay? So the next one is the hedonic treadmill. Again, we've talked about it, but I can't talk about it enough because it's going to stick in your brain and you're going to say, wait a minute, I think I'm on the hedonic treadmill right now. So that is when it's also called hedonic adaptation. So it is the theory that says that we return to the same level of happiness, that baseline, regardless of what happens to us. So this treadmill is that we're always trying to reach something else, and we think that new job, new car, new love, new paycheck, anything is going to make us happier than we are. Well, sometimes, as you can remember in your past, you've gotten those shoes, you got that car, you got that new job, and then a couple months later, you're like, I need a new pair of shoes. Yeah, I probably need a new job. Ooh, I need a new handbag. Ooh, I need more money. Trust me, it's never about the number of money. I used to think when I made $30,000 a year, when I made $70,000, that would be enough. And it just, you get to a place where you are going to adapt. So you got to be happy where you are at. And then the rest is gravy. It doesn't mean that you can't have more or that you won't enjoy more, but you got to be happy with where you're at. Get off the treadmill of thinking that I will be happier if or when, because it doesn't mean that you won't enjoy them, but if you've got to work on being happy right now, today. So that is a huge, huge important. Get off the treadmill in thinking, I mean, it's amazing when I started to shift and do all this positivity work. I used to do a ton of shopping. I would shop at like 3 a.m. in the morning, whatever sale I could get. And now I just don't need as much. And it isn't as much that I can't have it but I just don't need it as much. I don't look for a new pair of shoes or new clothes or a new handbag or a new car to make me happy. I'm super happy with the little car that I have right now. It isn't about, I don't think that a bigger, better car, more expensive car is going to make me happy. And that's what happens when you practice all these skills. It's magical. It's really, really magical. Number 4 that gets in our way, as we've talked about before, is limiting beliefs. So a belief is the state of mind in which a person thinks something is the case, is true, with or without there being evidence to prove that is true. Meaning, a belief doesn't mean that it's true. It is just something that you think about over and over and over again, so you believe it is true. I was just talking to somebody yesterday, and she was in a really tough place, and she was saying, if I'm not busy, if I'm not doing 95 things, then I am not important. Then I am not, then I'm just going to be boring. And I just thought, I said to her, you know what? That's just a belief. And you need to look at where that belief came from. Now, I know that where her belief comes from. It comes from somebody in her family. And I need to say, that's not necessarily your belief. You've just lived with it so long that you think that it's a truth. And so now we want to back away from it slowly and say, you know, what is something between doing nothing and doing 95 things? So there are ways to back away from those things. So these limiting beliefs between I can't or I don't think I can, they're just stories that you've been telling yourself. Now, here are a few that we know we all experience. I am not good enough, smart enough, pretty enough, rich enough, brave enough, fill in the blank enough. My friends, everybody thinks they are not something enough. And it is just the battle of mindset. It is the battle between you and your consciousness, the one that knows you want to be happier and wants to live a life of joy and adventure, and old stories and mind chatter. It's just a battle, and you can win the battle. You can win the war, but you got to win the battle daily. The other ones are, I don't have enough time. I don't have enough education. I don't have enough experience. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough fill in the blank. Whatever it is, they're just beliefs and they're limiting you. So really, one of the things we talked about in the mindset huddle was to be aware, be really aware of what is happening in your head and what you're telling yourself. Because when you say, yeah, I don't think I'm good enough. You know, when I started doing my little videos, I had a million limiting beliefs that were, I don't know what I'm doing. There are 1,000 people doing it out there already. I don't have a PhD in this. I had a lot of limiting beliefs. And like I told you last week, I told myself, do it anyway. Just do it anyway. And so your limiting beliefs are still going to pop up. You just need to be stronger than them and be louder than them. There is a model in psychology called the ABC model. And this is super technical, but I just want you to, this is sort of my little way of saying I've done my homework. I really do understand about activating events, beliefs, and consequences. And so you can tune into this later and look at it later. And it talks about how there's always some event or situation. And then it's going to bring up, it's going to make you think some thought. And, you know, a belief is a recurring thought. So you're going to have some belief about that. And then there's going to be a consequence, which is your action. So, for example, if somebody, you want to ask somebody out on a date, that's an activating event, you're going to have a belief or a thought that's, nah, they're not going to like me. They're too good for me. And then the consequences, you're going to, nah, I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to take any action. So there really is this ABC model. And if you can break down an event and a situation and then the consequences of how you're responding to it into this really easy ABC, then you can start parsing it out, unraveling that knot and saying, okay, what's the activation? What's the behavior? What's the belief? And what's the thought? And then what's the behavior or the consequence? And again, you can go back to the earlier huddle about mindset. Most of this is about a growth versus fixed mindset, a judger versus learner mindset. Don't get stuck at the belief. Don't get stuck at a limiting belief. And it is completely possible, because I know I had limiting beliefs and I still have them. I just have to overcome them and be louder than they are and do the action anyway. Because the worst thing that happens, you ask somebody out, they say no, then you tune into the failure huddle and you learn, wait a minute, that's not failure, it's just a chance to pivot. It doesn't mean anything about me. It may mean something about them. So there's just so much good stuff in all these huddles, and then you just have to piece them all together. So number 5 is autopilot, and I'm dating myself here with that graphic from Airplane, which most of you may understand. But autopilot is that our neural pathways operate under the law of the least effort. So we've created all of these neural pathways from these stories we've told ourselves over and 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 over again. And so it just sticks with those. And it's easier to do that. It's safer. That's what our brain knows. But I am telling you, we're going to change that, because we are going to work on changing those neural pathways with all of this practice. Here are a couple other things that hold us back really quickly. Immediate pleasure exerts stronger influence than concern for long-term health. For example, we know that we want to be healthy and strong, but gosh darn it, that cake looks so good. And so immediate pleasure kind of pushes out what our long-term goal is. And so we can overcome that with practice, with goal setting, with our morning ritual, all kinds of different things. All these different practices that we talk about, they battle and they take on all of these things that hold us back. Gender issues. Women are socialized to put everyone else first, and men are socialized to be strong and not show emotion. And so when we have these societal gender preconceptions, then we aren't going to always put ourselves first. We're not going to stand up for ourselves. We're not going to go after what it is we want. Men aren't going to tap into their emotions to be able to navigate and really be true to themselves. So again, lots of different things that hold us back. These aren't excuses. They are awareness points so that you can overcome them. You can notice them, get curious about them, be mindful of them, and do it anyway. Religious traditions, there's a lot of self-sacrifice, which is seen as a virtue in religions, as opposed to speaking up for yourself and doing what you want. Certainly family history and lack of good role models. And I don't even want to say lack of good role models. It's role modeling, you know, nothing's really good or bad. It really just either works or doesn't work. It feels good or it doesn't feel good. And so those role models are just don't fit with what it is that you want for your life. And the last one is worry. Gosh, we're always worrying about the past or worrying about the future. If we can become mindful of it, if we can see it for what it is, then we can jump over it. What do you think holds you back? I don't care, because when we know better, we do better. So, one more point, and then we're going to do a little exercise. It doesn't really matter what holds you back, and we're going to do a little exercise because you do need to be aware of it. But the neuroplasticity is so important, that these neurons in your brain, they connect. There's billions of them. There's millions and billions, and they can't even count them all. There's so many nerve cells connecting in your brain. And they're constantly connecting. And the more you do something over and over and over again, you know what it's like if you do the same habit, brushing your teeth. You don't have to really think about that because the neural pathway is already created. Well, if you can disconnect and override a neural pathway that isn't working for you, which you can, then you can get rid of the bad habits or the negative talk. So get out your piece of paper, because we are going to do a little exercise, because I do think it's important for you to have some awareness about what the limiting beliefs are that you tell yourself, you know, because I want you to be aware of them when they pop up automatically. I want you to go, oh, no, I wrote that down. That's a limiting belief. That's not a truth. So write down on the left side of your paper 5 limiting beliefs. Some that we talked about: I'm not good enough, I'm not thin enough, I'm not smart enough. And then, or there might be other ones. There might be other ones. What do you think is keeping you from the better job or the life of your dreams or the love of your life? And then on the right side, I want you to change that limiting belief to an encouraging belief. We're just going to start working on those pathways right now. So if the limiting belief is, I'm not good enough, the encouraging belief could be, who says? I am good enough. If I believe I'm good enough, then I'm good enough. Nobody else's opinion of me matters. Doesn't matter what anybody else thinks or what somebody told me years ago, because I am good enough. If the limiting belief is, I don't have a degree that would make me credible in this arena, the encouraging belief could be, lots of people have done lots of other things without the degree or the credential or the open door. There's so many different ways you can give an encouraging belief. And certainly if your limiting belief is, I don't have time, pretty sure that encouraging belief is, I will find the time. I have the same amount of time as anybody else who's done something exceptional. And that is just an excuse. I will find the time. Cool. I think that that's probably enough time so I can get through to the next piece. And again, if you don't finish this, when you subscribe, you get an email after the huddle that will be sent to you, and it usually has the worksheet in it. Or again, you can go back to the past ones and you can look through it, watch it a little bit slowly, pause it, try it again, do the exercise in another couple weeks or another month to just check in. Now, oops, wait. I want to go back because this is one of my favorite ones. This is one of my new exercises. Those are your neural pathways there in that picture, and they are firing all the time. And we are going to build a super strong new neural pathway, because neural pathways are strengthened into habits through the repetition and the practice of thinking, feeling, and acting. So I have a challenge for you for 100 days. And really, don't tell yourself I'm going to try and do it for 5 days, because one of the things is that a lot of people, they hear these tips and they, do the morning ritual, or they write their gratitude journal for like 4 days. And then they say, you know what, Stacey, this is not working. I didn't get the raise that I thought I would get in 4 days. I didn't find the love of my life after doing this for a month. I didn't find the house of my dreams by giving people compliments for a week. My friends, please, this is over your lifetime. This is many years ahead of you that you are going to be, you're attracting all that joy and success right now. So commit to 100 days. Get a calendar. And this is super easy. I'm not asking you to run a marathon every day for 100 days, people. I'm not even asking you to read a book. I'm asking you to say one sentence 100 times a day for 100 days. So what is the one I am statement that you want to create in your life? I am wealthy. I am in a loving relationship. I am successful beyond measure. I am living in the place that I have always dreamed of. What's the most important thing that you want to manifest in the next, over the next couple of months, couple of years? We're just going to start with 100 days. Start with something small. Maybe it isn't, I am going to the moon in 100 days. Like, let's, have some realism, because if it's too far out there, then every time you say, I am, if you're trying to lose 50 pounds and you say, I am 110 pounds, if it's too far out of your reach, then your brain doesn't believe it. So, and it's too much of a disconnect. So it might just be over the next 100 days, I am 10 pounds lighter. I am attracting surprise money. I am attracting connections and resources that are going to help me move forward. So keep them a little bit broad, keep them realistic, and you're going to do them for 100 times a day. That means write it on a piece of paper, keep it in your pocket, keep it on your desk, keep it in your mirror, and 100 times a day. You can do it all at once. You can do it 20 times, 5 times a day. You can do it 10 times a day. So I'm not great at math. I'm pretty sure that was right. But you get what I'm saying. And if you do more than 100, great. If you do more than 100 days, great. I cannot wait to see what's going to happen for you in 100 days. But just commit to 100 days saying one I am statement. Now, again, doesn't mean you can't say more. Doesn't mean that you can't be doing your other things like gratitude, doing your other practices. But this is, if you're doing nothing else, if you haven't been able to take anything else from me, try this one thing. One I am statement 100 times a day for 100 days. Do you know what your I am statement is? Maybe you don't know it right now. If you need help coming up with it, email me afterwards. But I really know that this is going to shift something, and I cannot wait for you to email me and tell me. So write down what it's going to be and start today. It's just one sentence. I know you can do it. I know you can. If I can do it, you can do it. And when you say that I am statement, think it, feel it. Feel it as if it is in the present. I am 10 pounds lighter. You can feel your clothes fitting better. You can feel people complimenting you. You can feel it. You can feel it. And it doesn't mean that just because you're saying it, it's all of a sudden just going to fall off. It might be that all of a sudden someone says, hey, do you want to go walking 3 times a week? And it happens to work into your schedule. And that's how it happens. But that's how the universe works. You tell it what you want. You don't have to tell it how it's going to come. Okay. So lastly, my friends, people are just as happy as they make up their minds to be. And again, you can make up your mind, but you got to keep making up your mind every single day. One of my favorite quotes by Zig Ziglar is, people often say motivation doesn't last. Well, neither does bathing, which is why we recommend it daily. That is one of my favorite quotes. So that's why I'm here. I am here to help you practice daily what it is that you want to achieve and attract, which is more joy, more happiness, more experience that bring you positivity. And I know it's possible because I went from a super dark place to a really abundant life. And I'm still learning every single day. I do this huddle mostly for myself because it keeps me in check as well. So for any of you who have not subscribed and you're not watching this on the webinar, then please feel free to go to happierbytheminute.com and subscribe. It's completely free and you can go back and see the past ones. And if you subscribe, then it warns you and it reminds you, which is really great. So you don't have to even remember yourself or just happen to catch it. So my friends, I love to get in and get out in exactly 30 minutes because it needs to be quick and simple. Please enjoy all this material. Please use it. Please email me and tell me if it's working. I know you guys are out there. I know you're listening. I love hearing from you. And thank you for giving me your time and your trust to give you this information. I'm just super, super grateful. And I bless you and hope you have an absolutely amazing day. Look for all the positive things and write them down that happened today. All right. I will see you next week. Bye.